Welcome to Municipals or Foes, at the crossroads of seriousness and silliness, a look at small town politics in rural Oklahoma. We're just two city council members discussing if your municipality is really your friend or foe. I'm Lauren Fuller, along with my co-host, Mike Similescu. Hey, welcome to the show. Cody Maynard is our state representative, and he has graced us with his presence today, and we're excited to kind of pick his brain and talk to him a little bit about not just what happens locally, but statewide in Oklahoma. Cody, can you tell us a little bit about your background to start out with and how you even got involved in politics?
Yeah, absolutely. So my background, I am a CPA, certified public accountant. I have been in Oklahoma for going on 15 years now. So my background's in nonprofits. So I specialize in churches, food banks, schools, whatever, you name it. I've helped out all around on that end. But getting started into politics, I mean, that's a long story. The really, really short version is I did not like everything that happened during COVID and watching business owners lose their businesses and people lose their jobs and just total shutdown. Through that season, I had a friend reach out to me and ask if I would run for office, which my first reaction was absolutely not. Like that was not in my plan. I was perfectly happy being an accountant. But she asked if I would just pray about it. And so I took 6 weeks, prayed about it. At the end of that, I felt like it was something I should do. And so I threw my hat in the ring. And for me, that kind of came down to, I was like, okay, if I win, then I'll know that this is the right path. And if not, I can happily go back to my day job. So I won. I'm starting my second term now. So I finished 2 years. So I'm no longer a freshman. So nice to be out of the freshman 2-year zone. But from here, it's just kind of been a huge learning curve of learning how everything works up at the Capitol. And I'm ready to tackle the next 2 years, see what stuff we can get done.
Well, sounds good. We appreciate you coming on. Obviously, our podcast here has to do with local politics here in rural Oklahoma, and one of the things that I think more city and maybe some county politics, but it kind of intertwines, right? A lot of things that happen up at the State House becomes one of those things that can affect us down here, depending on changes that y'all do legislatively or funding issues and other things. So we do appreciate that because it all kind of links together. It's important that we have some form of communications, relationships, that kind of stuff, so that we can all kind of work together to affect some of the local issues. Because I know obviously some of that is from your standpoint as well important.
Yes. Absolutely.
Well, one of the things that we've been talking about, and is a big project that I think ODOT and the federal government and the state are doing, is the Roosevelt Bridge.
Yes.
And that's been an issue. We've had car accidents and deaths, and the bridge is old, to put it lightly, and we are kind of outlived its usefulness. So one of the things that has come up is rebuilding that bridge or building a new bridge and getting the funding for that. Can you tell us a little about the process for that and what we've got going on there?
Sure. So, and for all those who don't know the state acronyms, ODOT is the Oklahoma Department of Transportation. So we've had the bridge on their radar. It was on their 8-year plan. And 8 years, I think we all know, was way too far out. That bridge is a hazard. Even the last reports they'd put out, they thought it only had 3 more years before they either had to do more repairs or they were going to have to do weight restrictions on vehicles that could drive over the bridge. So that being said, we definitely made it a priority, and we started working on it on the state side. So we actually got this session a bill passed to provide $200 million of bonding authority for the Department of Transportation. And then we're also blessed that Senator Langford jumped in and helped us get a federal grant for $124 million. So we put those two together. We got $324 million. The original project was estimated at $250 million or so. And so that let us get the project fully funded. So we were able to jump it up from starting in 2029. We've now got the project starting in 2026. And right now, through 2025, they're doing the process of taking bids, getting all the contractors lined out so that they can start breaking ground and get a new bridge for us as soon as possible.
How long do you think this project will take?
That is a great question. I would love to say it will be the time frame they tell me, which is about 2 to 3 years, and I hope that they can make that happen. So, if all goes well, they will start construction in 2026, and we would be done sometime in 2029.
Yeah, but to preface this, I mean, this bridge, even though it's not necessarily in our community, it is a thoroughfare to get to our community, and it is huge for the commerce. I mean, this is how long is the bridge exactly?
So
do we know?
you've got 1 mile of bridge and 1 mile of causeway. So the new proposal would just be a straight 2-mile bridge directly across it. The current one it takes a little L bend in the middle.
Yeah.
This will take the shortest route, which is cheaper and actually safer. No turns on the bridge needed. So yeah, it is a very long bridge, and this would actually be one of the biggest projects that ODOT has ever done in this area. So it's a big undertaking for them.
Yeah, it's a huge undertaking, and it's vital for our community to keep traffic flowing because it does cross Lake Texoma, which is the largest. Is it the largest lake in Oklahoma? It's got to be, right?
I don't know. I can't answer you if it's the largest one.
It's the largest man-made lake. We can go there.
There you go. There you go.
But it's pretty significant jump, and it's hard to get around. So that bridge is important to our community. And so I know just recently when I was traveling in the snow and the ice, that was like my mom was calling me and she was having fits. She was like, just call me when you cross the bridge. I need to know you made it alive. And I was like, okay, Mom, calm down. But that was her main concern was that bridge because it is scary.
Oh yeah. No, the bridge is, and I mean, I'll just be completely honest. I've sat there and watched traffic passing, and if you have let's say a mobile home or something quite large going across the bridge, it's extremely dangerous. And there is no good route between Ardmore and the Durant side of the lake. You either have to go the long way around and go on 199, which is not much safer. There's no shoulders. It's a straight drop offs on the edge. Or you've got to go across that bridge. And so we've got to get a wider thoroughfare that can handle more traffic because with all the construction happening over in the Point Vista area, they're anticipating traffic's going to double in probably the next 3 to 5 years. So we desperately need a safer, wider bridge for everyone.
But I think this is a good example of like prioritization of jobs, right? Like sometimes people want something done, but they don't realize there are more important or more vital jobs that, like this one is a safety hazard that we have to address first and foremost. And they get very frustrated because, I'm sure this is going to bump a few things on ODOT's schedule, right? To take this, and people are going to get upset. And so I've had people come to us and talk to us about, well, why isn't this getting done? And I'm like, listen, I agree. It's important. I'm like, however, this takes precedence, and it's really hard to explain to people like why they have to wait. And this is one of those situations I think that's kind of important to kind of shed some light and show people like, hey, like we've got to take a step back and like realize some projects just have to be done first.
Yeah. Well, and this is one of those ones that, I literally I keep a file of just news stories for accidents that happen on the bridge. I was showing those up at the Capitals and like, we've got to get a new bridge. Look at all the accidents happening. And this is one of those high priority items, but it's so massive. It does drain resources from other projects in the state. And you have to have, just like on your personal home budget, if you have your car break and your refrigerator break, you got to make a choice. Like, which thing do I fix now? Right. And you got to prioritize projects. And for me, safety items are always coming first. And so this is one of those things I was very happy to get funding for the bridge so that we can improve it and get a safe bridge for everyone to travel on.
Well, speaking of funding, Cody, what other things are you guys looking for funding for right now? Because there are a lot of projects across the state that also need funding.
Yes, absolutely. One of the ones Senator Bullard and I worked on this last session, and we're going to do it again this session, is wastewater and water infrastructure bill. So a huge need that we've got going on in the Bryan County area and most of southeastern Oklahoma is we are having so much growth happening that we do not have enough water for everybody, all the houses. I know we've had some of the rural water districts limiting new meters going in. And so we've been running a bill last year, and we're going to do it again to set up a funding bucket for towns and counties to be able to get low interest rate loans to do some of these critical water projects. And so in around 2020, when the federal government put out what they called ARPA funds for all the states, we had $17 billion of requests for just water projects across this state. And so there's an enormous need across multiple communities, ours being one of them. And so what we're asking for is to take $500 million and put it into a designated fund for this. And there is a 3-to-1 federal match. So it would get us up to $2 billion where we could potentially start helping these towns and municipalities that just don't have the resources to do it straight out on their own. And they need a helping hand to get it done. And to me, there's a lot of things that government can do. One of the things the government should do is critical infrastructure across the state that is beneficial to everyone. And water is one of those things. You have to have it.
Now, Cody, you said you ran this last year and you're going to run it again this year, meaning it didn't pass last year. And so you guys are going to try again this year. Yeah.
So a little, inside baseball in the Capitol. So we got it past the House of Representatives. We got it past the Senate. But since it is a budget bill, it requires money. Then it has to go back to the budget committee, and they kind of take all bills that had any money impacts, and they have to write one major bill and roll it all in. Well, on the very last day of session this year, the House leadership and Senate leadership were in a room, and they did it all live on TV. So you can watch this if y'all want to, but they got into a disagreement over two projects, this one that the Senate wanted and another one for the House. And so they were literally on a deadline. They have to get done. So they said, you know what, let's just do neither. And they said, fine, we can agree to that. And they just signed and went on, and they closed down the budget committee meeting and we're ready to go. And so you probably, if you were in the Capitol, you might've heard me scream from my office when I was watching online. Cause we were that close to getting that funding done. So we're going to have to start over, but we're going to work it again. It's extremely important. And so we can't just give up. We'll try again.
But do you
just
think
out of curiosity, what was the other bill that you guys were debating?
Oh gosh, I can't even remember. I think it was an economic development bill of some type. And I don't remember the details on that one because it wasn't mine, but I think it was around 200 million. It was sizable as well. So they just kind of said, you know what, we won't do yours. We won't do mine. We'll just scratch it and go on.
Well, hopefully with as much support as it sounded like it had, that it'll go through this time.
I'm hoping so as well.
I think for background for locally is important is, what are the kind of projects we're looking at here in town, right? That we're working beside, the bridge is peripherally, but it'll help drive commerce, right? That's with all development at the lake, that'll pass through Durant, some of it, maybe more pass through from going west from Ardmore, traffic, that kind of stuff. One of the things that, we talked about limitations. We have a water line here that's $26 million that we need funding because there's parts of town that don't have capacity, so we can't build stuff. Yep. And then we also have, I can't remember. I think that was the biggest thing here in town, right? We could always need more drainage and storm sewer and all that kind of stuff, but that's always projects that can always use. And then the wastewater treatment, right? The upgrades to the wastewater treatment plant is another area which we will need some funding as well. So, there's a lot going on here as we go from needs for water. A lot of people don't think about water until the water doesn't come on in their house or the toilet doesn't flush, and then everybody panics. So, and not having the water locally is a big deal because we can't grow in certain areas of the city. So it limits a little bit. So, all right, go ahead, Lauren. Sorry, I just wanted to throw that out there.
No, that's exactly what we need to talk about is, we've got a lot of development wanting to come to our town, and we're having to tell builders like, sorry, we can't get water to you. And a lot of it's just because
we can't afford
to put in these huge pipelines to carry the water. Like that's literally all it boils down to. Because like you said, $26 million, like nobody would guess it costs that much just to run pipelines.
That's right. And that's just one project for one town. there's those needs are all over the place, and that's a perfect example of a need that would qualify under this bill for funding.
Would it also cover like old corroded pipes to replace our infrastructure?
Yeah, I mean, again, if it deals with getting water infrastructure or wastewater treatment, either side, it would be a qualified item. The bill has some language that it's going to prioritize the highest need items across the state. So if you find, one that's an immediate health risk, that goes straight to the top, right? As opposed to something that would be, hey, this would be nice for us to put in, but it's, there's no danger to anybody. There's no major lack happening. Those would fall to the bottom. So it does try to prioritize projects so that the most critical items are taken care of with the money first. But any water project would technically qualify.
I mean, I think everybody around here is well aware of our water pipelines corroding.
Right.
I mean, we see leaks everywhere in the city and water popping up because our pipes are 100 years old,
I drive across one every morning taking my kids to school. So,
and we sit here
is
and
that
we're
the one
yeah.
by the car across from Sonic on First?
Yes, right over by Sonic going down the hill. Yeah.
I've reported that many times, so I don't know. I'll have to ask them next time I talk to them what's going on with that, because I see it too, and every time I drive, I think Cody told me about this, and I was like, they hadn't said nothing. And I was like, I'm gonna have to find out. I'll ask them when I get the chance.
Yeah, and I'm just gonna throw this out. I know a lot of constituents contact me when there's issues going on or things that they see. I just want all of y'all to know, like, I contact people and I don't get answers either. So, I contacted when Department of Transportation was redoing First Street, because I knew this leak was there because I drive across it every day. I said, hey, there's a leak right there. We should fix it before it gets paved over. And, I come back the next day and it was like, no, we didn't see anything. It's paved. I'm like, no, it's there. so, I don't always get stuff taken care of for me either, but it doesn't stop us from trying. And that's where hopefully we can get some of those items again when we have leaks and we know they're happening.
I think the worst was last year when it froze, and so you had all these leaks, ice, just ice. And I would have people going, why hasn't the city done this? And I'm like, listen, I know that leak's real bad, but it's not as bad as that one. One at a time. You don't realize that pipe is going to cost us however many thousands of dollars to repair. Can you just please give me a second?
Yep.
Again, I tell people, yes, I'm aware it's on fire. It's not the biggest fire. I'm sorry. It's got to wait.
So let's move on to some accomplishments that you think you had last session. I know we talked about the future, but from the last session, what do you feel like you guys accomplished at the State House? Whether it doesn't have to be municipal government or related to local issues. It can be anything. We're just, throw that out there and kind of get some ideas as what you feel like as a personally as a legislator or as a group that you guys feel like you accomplished over at the State House.
I mean, big one that I'm sure everybody saw was getting the state's portion of the grocery sales tax removed. So that was a big, honestly, on the state budget side, it was a pretty big hit to the state budget, but I was glad we were able to get that done. We didn't, for everybody watching, if you don't follow taxes, the state charged 4.5%, and then the rest on your taxes is either county or city. So we didn't want to mess up every single city's funding sources. So we didn't force cities to drop sales tax or counties to do so, but we did on the state side. So hopefully everyone's seen their grocery bills come down some. Again, we passed a $200 million bond for the Roosevelt Bridge. That was honestly, a very huge thing to get done last session. Did not know that if we were going to be able to get that. And so super thankful for that. One of the other things that does impact local, just counties, we passed $18 million in grants for sheriff's offices and departments. So actually just this past month, Bryan County got $300,000 and Marshall County got $250,000 for their sheriffs. And so what they've been able to do is they can use that to buy equipment, upgrade things that they need. And then that enabled them to start giving raises to their officers. So one of the needs that, people may or may not be aware of is we still have shortages of law enforcement officers across the state. And we are in kind of a bidding war with other states to be able to get officers. So very glad we could do that and help get some money to our sheriffs so that they can be properly staffed and well paid. And, just as a shout out, our sheriff's office just caught one of the top 10 most wanted in Oklahoma. So that was kind of cool to see that just went down, and they apprehended that suspect. Some of the other things we got done, I got a lot of emails about nursing homes across the state where they did not have enough funding to properly care for patients. So this past session, we passed $30 million that was to increase the provider rate so that they could better pay their staff and could better take care of the patients in the nursing home. So I was glad we were able to get that done. And then one of the other big bills that I haven't heard a lot about it in a while, but Senate Bill 1959. So Senator Jerry Alvord, a good friend of mine, he passed a bill that requires now age verification on any site distributing pornography. And so the pornography industry is massive across the world and United States, but there was tons of sites where you could get into them without any sort of age verification. And so this bill puts some teeth on it. It says if you're a company that's distributing pornographic material and you do not require age verification, you are now subject to prosecution. And so you've seen some companies just step out of the state entirely, which I'm totally great with. And then others, again, starting to put age verification in. So I don't like the pornography industry one bit, but I can't make it totally illegal, but we can at least try to protect our youth from stumbling across that stuff. So I was very thankful that we were able to get that bill passed as well. And there's a whole host of other things, but I don't want to take up too much time on all of those. I know we've got some other topics I wanted to get to as well.
No, here's what I really want to know, Cody. Okay, you ready?
All right.
We get outrageous complaints all the time. What's like some of the top most outrageous things people ask you?
Oh, man. I don't know if I get a ton of them. I mean, I wouldn't say they're outrageous. Like a lot of the times I get complaints. There are things that don't have anything to do with government that I can handle. So
yeah,
usually I'm getting complaints where they want something for federal or something of that nature, or town. I get y'all's complaints. That's what I get.
Sorry, I can't help you. Call Cody.
I know. It's like they wanted me to fix University Boulevard, and I was like, I can't actually do that, So
how many complaints did you get on that one?
I got quite a few.
That's a rough one, right? That's one part of the reason we're here is because of that fiasco.
Yeah, and I don't mean to bring it, put salt in wounds, so I shouldn't have brought it up. But yeah, I get various things like that. But most of the time, honestly, I get very reasonable stuff. It's just not always things that state government can solve, and that is kind of the challenge. Is I will say this might be a fun one. I did get a call from somebody who. They were having trouble with a stray animal. They wanted me to come get it. And I was like, do you live in town? I was like, no. I'm like, because there's no, out in the county, there's no animal, catchers out there. So I was not about to go get a feral dog myself, but.
Oh, come on, Cody.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean.
Talk about customer service right there.
I know. I do value I've dealt with enough dogs when I was knocking on doors that I do have a very healthy respect for animals.
Yeah, I remember when we were knocking on doors, there was one of my volunteers. She was getting down, knocking on doors, whatever, and then she goes. She got down for a second. And she comes back in and she's like, I've knocked on a lot of doors. I see a lot of dogs, but this is not one that I'm going to go risk. And then we looked over there. And it was like this, it was like a pit bull, but it was a scary pit bull. And we're like, nope. And then I had another, one of my younger guys, Juan, he was knocking doors with me. And then some dogs started chasing him. He's like, come get me. I was like, where are you? He's like, I found him in the back of some dude's pickup truck in the front yard over on the east side of town. And he's like, I can't get down. The dogs are like barking at me. He's like, I think they're gonna bite me. So we went over there. The guy actually thought it was really funny. He was like, what's all the commotion? What's going on? I told him, I gave him my literature. He goes, I don't know. He is out here beheading. He's like, don't worry about it. He's like, He's like, there's dogs everywhere over here. They won't bite you. And I'm like, well, I don't know. He's like, I think I'd be nervous too by the size of these dogs barking at me here. So, but yeah, it's kind of crazy when you're out there campaigning with dogs and stuff. So I understand the not wanting to go out and fetch a stray.
I mean, I think we can wrap all this up to say, like, we deal with a lot of stuff, city, county, state level, that not everything gets done, but we are aware of most of it. I like to tell people, like, if you don't tell me about it, I don't know about it. But on the flip side, that doesn't mean I get to fix it now. But that we are all working on the things. We all are doing the best for our communities and want to make sure that we are all thriving and trying to pick out the most important, most vital things to do first. And so, Cody, we see that in you, and we appreciate all your hard work at the state capitol for us, and rooting for you out there so that we can get some more funding this next year to tackle some of those projects, because we would love to continue to grow here in town.
One other thing, Cody, can you let a few listeners know how to get a hold of you if they need to talk to you about appropriate state issues?
Yeah, absolutely. So easiest way to reach me is you can just email me. So it's cody.maynard, CODY.MAYNARD @okhouse.gov. So if you send those, that email is always monitored. Or if you want to call, you can call me at 405-557-7366. So again, Monday through Friday, we've got staff members ready to pick up those questions or calls and to help you out. And a lot of times it's just us needing to get things connected. You know, we've had people call who are not getting permits from the state departments. And honestly, it's the craziest thing, but we'll call up there and it's like, oh yeah, that application's been sitting on my desk over here. It's like, well, could you process it? And you know, lo and behold, we'll call them and they'll get it done the next day. So sometimes it's just simple stuff like that. But please reach out, because I do hate to hear where stuff doesn't get taken care of and nobody ever contacted me so I could help them. And we've seen those where sometimes we just have to poke and prod the state agencies to get some stuff done.
Except for when it comes to animal control.
There's not a state agency for that. There you go. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Cody. It was a pleasure to have you on
Cody,
today.
We appreciate it.
We are, again, thankful for your time and value you being on here today. And we look forward to talking again soon.
Absolutely. My pleasure. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you, sir. Have a good day.